Right, episode 8. I actually never thought I'd even get this far, but anyway, we did. So we're getting closer to 10. Um, and yeah, I have another really, really good friend who I was in college with a year ahead of, I think, if I'm right. And everybody knows who I am and they're sick of listening to me. So the introduction is over to you. So tell everybody who you are, what you do, and why you're doing it.
Yeah, so my name is Jess. Jess White, formerly married, formerly Turner. So yeah, my name is Jess White. I am the kit and equipment manager of Shamrock Rovers senior women's team. I also work full time here in Nace as a duty manager for a company called Lydon Group, and then I also have started my own personal training business in more recent months, in the last kind of 5 months or so. So yeah, I kind of juggle three jobs at the minute. Wouldn't couldn't think of anything else. Yeah, it's busy, busy lifestyle.
And then is there, say obviously, so you're doing two like sports related jobs with your with Shamrock Rovers and with your PT. Um, why why is sports so important to you? And why are you in sports really?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Like when you're growing up as a kid, you're always outside playing, especially generation. And sport was always the thing that you turned to, whether it was, tip the can or any of these mad games that you would play growing up. And it just leaned into more organized sport. So I started off as a Gaelic player at about 10. So I would have done a bit of community games then through school and stuff, and fell in love with indoor five-a-side football, and then that branched out into 11-a-side. And soccer kind of took my hand at about 16, 17, and I leaned into that more and kind of put GA on the back burner and finished at about 18. So for the last kind of, 9, 10 years, I've just focused solely on football. Now, again, my passion for soccer purely came down to just watching the game. And I took the route of heading down to Carlow. And getting on the sports course. So it was really interesting time of recruitment. I think the objective was more coaches, and I was willing to, figure out more and get on my coaching journey. And it definitely opened up my mind as a player coach into the game even. And again, I have passion for coaching, but not as much as I do for playing the game. And I actually and being involved in sport in the background in a more kind of operational admin role. I feel like I best kind of help the game in that aspect. But yeah, soccer has had my heart for the last 16 years.
Very good. And obviously, you don't play anymore, do you? Because I could, I mean,
I
if you do,
oh,
and
I
if you,
still do.
yeah, yeah.
I still do. You just don't see me anymore. That's all. I've gone back down the pecking order. So I actually play for my local football team, Newbridge Town. So yeah, we play under Brian Kay. He's formerly against manager for Athlone Town and the girls. So he's great, and the coach and staff are great as well. We've Karen in there, and we have a few other people who have really, really kind of helped bolster the team. They've gone over the last 3 seasons since its inception to, progressing from League One to Prem Two last year, and then Prem One this year. So we're kind of the next best thing is League of Ireland, really. There is a massive from Eastern League to League of Ireland, and I experienced that myself when I played um for my local club team, Newry Trialled with Athlone Town in their first year, and successfully kind of stayed with the team for one season. See much playing time competitively throughout the season. Just wasn't really at the standard, and realized very quick, I was best suited to the level below. And of course that was obviously hard to take at the time, but I didn't have the full commitment to League of Ireland the way the girls would now, and especially seeing it, it's just to trying to work full time and play full time. When you're not getting paid full time as well is kind of difficult. And that would have been my experience. But again, it's great to see that that's kind of changing and leaning more into players being able to divide their.
Yeah, excellent. Well, yeah. So talk about busy. It's very, very busy. Um, yeah. So then, just sort of touching on to how we know each other. Sort of where we got to know each other, and yeah, I'll leave it over to you.
Yeah, sure, sure. Obviously, like our paths cross through down in Carlow, where kind of people come from, the ones who are kind of bet into sport and stay knocking stuff. So yeah, obviously I would have started Carlow back in, gosh, when was it? 2018. would have been about 2018, and like you said, you were a year ahead of me. So um the way the course was kind of structured, we had player development and Coach Ed, and we were always playing against each other, kicking each other, and then you were coaching and trying to learn from the guys who were ahead of you. So we would have done all of our little kind of badges, our the kickstart, the PDPs, and then leaned into the C license, the D license, then into B license if that's what you wanted. But yeah, our paths crossed through.
Yeah. And then tell me about sort of role that you have now in Shamrock Rovers. Obviously, you don't just walk in like that. And also, if I'm correct in saying you're with the national team, the women's national team for a while, weren't you as well?
Yeah. So I basically my introduction to kind of that international standard and that elite level came through an opportunity under Tom, and Luke Hardy had actually reached out to me at the time and had asked if I was interested in heading to Wales Girls under 16s team to do kit, and I was like, sure thing, why not, what's there to lose, I suppose. I was in work on a Friday evening, it was quite funny, and the Saturday, Sunday, they were flying out Sunday, and I thought it was the previous Sun, like the following Sunday, as in 9 days away, and it turned out it was 2 days away. And I just said, yeah, I was God, I'm in work for like the whole week. I had to ring my boss to be like, look, this opportunity's come up, and we had a reason of my passion for sport, and I was studying it, and it wasn't like the grass is greener somewhere else. It was make a good go at this. So yeah, I was given the opportunity to head in and work under Tom and Megan, Connor Woods and stuff. So these are people that we'd obviously know from the course in Carlow. And then yeah, I was with the 16s there for about a full year and was contacted, World Cup, about possibly heading into the women's senior setup after Orla was resigning after the World Cup. So I was kind of asked if was something that I'd be interested in. Like, it was quite a proud achievement to be asked something like that, purely from my work ethic and standard. And bold myself, so I knew I was doing something right. And I said yes to that. Then when that position came up, I had initially said no, because I had accepted a grad role with little whole full year cycle of my grad program, my application process and stuff like that, and just said I need to give this a go. I need to give myself the opportunity, to give myself a good crack. And very quickly into it, realized I wasn't where I was meant to be. I needed to be still. Also, I'd contacted, it was Evelyn McMullen at the time, and we had had a good chat and on board. A year and a half ago, pre which camp was it actually? I think Ireland had just been appointed at the time, and I'd worked with the guys. We played down in up to Northern Ireland, and we played Northern Ireland up in Belfast, which was fantastic. So I ended up doing 3 camps in total with the senior women's team, and I stepped away from the guys then back in, would have been about this time last year actually. It would have been about April or May this time last year that I stepped away from the guys. In the interim was still very heavily involved in playing and obviously coaching with Shamrock Rovers. So I was coaching 17s for a season under Keith Coffey and Terry Gleeson, which was a fantastic experience. And the guys were great in allowing me to pursue my B license, which I was doing at the time. The women's only way for B license, fantastic too. So yeah, it was just very much dabbling in absolutely everything and anything that was coming. And I was approached by Shamrock Rovers to come in and be the kit and equipment manager for the women's team when they'd set up 2.5 ago. So I've kind of just leaned more into that now, and I'm fully bought into what we're trying to build there in section of the club, and love it.
Excellent. And so just talking about, say, when you go into an environment, obviously like an elite environment where it's so competitive, but similar to yourself and loads others, when you go into the national team and you have people who like you're seeing like every week in college, obviously Tom Elms used to lecture us and do player development and stuff with us with Luke Hardy. Does that kind of does make it a little bit easier when you're going in there to like you kind of you know these people, you know some of these people already. I mean, I'm sure it's already like it's nervous when you're going in and you're at that very, very high standard and around the best of the best. But say was their presence helpful for sort of settling you in very, very quickly to the team?
Yeah, for sure. I think like we all had a very good mutual understanding of each other and and we all had great respect for each other in our roles. So it did come quite easily and quite naturally. And obviously knowing the guys and in high performance sport, it's all about adaptability and going with the punches and things change. And you could have this great program and everything set up and you just want to dot the I's and cross the T's so quickly. So having people around you and their emotions, you know how they behave, you know when it's time to, let off the professional Jessica, kit and equipment manager head, just Jessica human and having a chat. So it was definitely a little bit easier being in those environments and being so young as well and realizing, oh God, I'm in with an Irish senior or an Irish underage girls team here. But yeah, having Tom, Megan, Connor, any of the guys, even getting to work with Danny O'Leary, fantastic. These people they're just, you just realize that they're humans and we all have a human element to us and we're all in the same ball working towards the same goal. So yeah, it definitely helped. But again, when I went into the senior women setup, I knew of one of the girls who I would have actually played football with, funnily enough. She's a physio, Susie. Lovely, lovely girl, great time for top pro at what she does and definitely eased me into the senior women's team for sure. But again, everyone's, arm around the shoulder, better, don't worry. You're obviously around all these players and you're going, I was 14-year-old Jess looking at these players on TV and then I'm in the same room, having dinner or sharing camps and doing things, but you're there in your professional setting and you get that, and that flip that, you just flip that switch there to do your job and to facilitate an environment where these players can just perform. But it does if you know one or two when you're heading in for sure. It definitely helped me anyways.
And I just want to touch on what you said there. Where did the understanding come from that whether it's a professional sports player or coach or in that sort of environment, where did that understanding come from that these people are like a human, as you say too? Because I think a lot of the time they think, look, these players and these coaches earn a lot of money, they're miles above where I am, they're never going to like me or want to talk to me. But I always say that if you just respectfully reach out to someone and say, look, here's what I do, I'd love to just follow along and sort of like shadow you in a way, that 9 times out of 10 people will say yes, because like you say, they're human. But has that always been sort of an understanding that you've had, or was it maybe just in that elite environment
Yeah,
that you realized?
I feel like yeah, it does. It comes back to just like human respect for people, and understanding that you're all in the same environment, like regardless, we're all have a goal that we're working towards. But that environment, that understanding, I think, comes from just being around organized and controlled sport, and you realize that there's almost a pecking order in terms of you have your head coach and you've everybody kind of filters into their slots underneath, but you're very much the professional area. So like if you're the goalkeeping coach, you're the pro at goalkeeping, if you're head of strength, the best at strength and conditioning. If you're the kit and equipment manager, you're the best at kit and equipment. So that understanding was always there. And then in relation to like relationships with players and stuff, they're there to perform optimally. Can't be wound up to the nines all the time. They want to relax and let go and, let their hair down and chill out. Of course, they know when it's the business end of stuff has to be done, and that can be your training sessions, it can be your analysis sessions, and it can be when they're doing basic things like laundry drop and picking up their gear. They need to know they have the right gear. So it's very much just a mutual understanding and it comes from the environment that's created too. So like if the environment is well enough, things could be sloppy and slide and slip and you're always going to have to pull people back in. But for especially working with a 16s team into a senior team, you see that kind of jump from, you're working with 14, 15 girls to senior women who are, in their 30s, even beyond. Um, and you see it all just there. They're with their friends, they're in a camp, they're there for a week, 10 days, and they're away from school, they're away from, their other jobs and things. So, or they're away from their clubs, and it's just nice for them all to reconnect. They all have relationships with each other. So yeah, I think that understanding comes from just being a human and realizing that business that there's playtime too.
Brilliant. Now I'm nearly, I wouldn't say if I'm stupid, maybe I am, but you might have big goals in life related to sports. But is there one one aim where you really, really want to go get there? Maybe it's sort of constantly working in a high performance environment and doing it full time. Um, but is there one massive goal? It could be non-sports related, but I mean, if I was to take a guess, I would say that it is sports related.
Yeah, like no, my focus has kind of shifted in recent months more often than not. I mentioned I got married recently there about 5 months ago, and myself and my
Congrats.
partner Orla, thank you, Finian, and my wife Orla have shared our life about 10 years together now. And my focus as the 8-year-old woman is kind of shifting slightly more towards family, and focusing more on family and what I want to do to build my family. And of course, sports is fantastic, and you can be involved in that in any aspect, whether it's recreational in the evenings and your weekends, or it's your job. My focus has shifted slightly to business, and working in business away from sport. And I took that even college, I would have focused on in the level kind of 8, focusing more on management practice. So my career ambitions are actually working for an organization who helps support my family. Sport does that hugely, but it doesn't financially set you up at the moment in this country for great things in relation to personal life and stuff. So you understand what the graft is, you're in that rat race and every evening of the week and every weekend. And if you're lucky enough to work in sport full time, and I would consider that full time hours in sport, you're very fortunate, but working in someone like the FAI, or working, within Shamrock Rovers as a football club, would be fantastic. Operationally would be the key for me. I would work in operations, logistics, if those positions were to, at the moment, there's just not many of them out there, and most people who hold those positions stay there for quite a long time. So into working for other organizations, other NGBs like yourself, I would have volunteered with Special Olympics Ireland for, and I've recently reached out to Triathlon Ireland. I have a contact there who's been a bit of me for the last couple of months, and I've been leaning more into sports like pickleball and a few other organizations to try and get away from soccer in a sense, because you just have people annoying you all the time
Yeah.
about sport when you work in the sport, So yeah, right now I'm in the process of a couple of applications between other grad roles with other big kind of organizations in the country, and I'm still looking at just maintaining my position in Shamrock Rovers. And like I said, I started my own PT business there about 5 months ago. So right now I'm just kind of toying with that and seeing where that takes me. But my career goals and ambitions have shifted more towards how can I build my family and support my family more.
And do you think that's something that comes the older you get? Because maybe when you're in like your sort of teenage years and your early 20s, stuff like this doesn't really go through your brain until there's maybe potential fatality in your family or someone gets really, really sick. Because I mean, I know for me now, like family is so important, but I would have said it's only sort of really come maybe in the last couple of years. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to say I never loved my family. I always loved my family, but I mean,
Yeah.
if there was if I was given an opportunity to spend an extra day with my family or maybe go and do a coaching session, for me, I definitely pick my family over
Mm.
football.
Yeah, like it just comes down to what you want as an individual. There's no right time or wrong time for me. Like I said, 28, I'm thinking more logically around like my body clock as a female, and what to do. And as a gay woman, there's different, loopholes that you have to jump through to try and actually have a family and have kids and stuff. And it's not a matter of an overnight, wow, you're pregnant. There's a lot of processes and procedures you have to go on. We're very fortunate that we have a lot of gay couples around us who have gone through these processes, being educated now, and things, simple things like freezing eggs, or like doing things like have to be thought of, and it's a big process, and it's something that we're in the process of trying to doing. And right now, you're gaining information and stuff. So yeah, like my focus has definitely shifted to that and what I need to do to be in my full health for that. And it's not that sport isn't unhealthy. God, it's
Yeah.
like losses like yesterday kind of put a damper on it, but that's just time. And I heard a wise person once say recently, that like nice people don't win things all the time, and you have to be a bit to win things in life, and you have to be a bit more selfish about things. So yeah, I think that I've gotten. the more I've kind of focused on growing my family. And sport isn't the be all and end all. Like you're not tomorrow, so what are you waiting on?
Excellent. And then just to sort of touch on what you were talking about there, everyone goes through challenging times in their life. Is there anything you just want to talk about, particularly that has happened up until just today, 28 years of age, number one, and then potentially over the next 5, 10 years, what sort of challenges do you see yourself facing? So there's two parts to that question. So I'll let you think or see what you can come up with.
How much time have you got, Finian?
Yeah, don't worry,
No,
Gabba.
look, there's no straight line to anything. You're gonna sidestep and a little bit to progress yourself. And I think over the last kind of good few years working in coming away from college, really the industry, especially around football and business, you realize that you're gonna come across people that you just don't really click with. And I've had a couple of experiences, in sport and in business recently where you just realize that it's compatible for everyone and you have a job to do at the end of the day. But there has to be a boundary line on self-respect and valuing yourself and knowing what you bring to the table and knowing when you call time on something that you're involved in purely out of love for yourself because I love you, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I've definitely had experiences with people in the past, but again, I don't think I'd go back and change anything because it's helped build who Jess is today. It's given me more resilience. It's focused a lot more, self-reflection on myself and why I maybe react to things, and how I can kind of counteract that and help myself in future situations when that arises because I know the game that we're in, and where I want to go with my career ambitions. I'm going to come across people that challenge me. I don't really like conflict. It's something that I'm not really, really good with. I try and avoid it at all costs, but things like previous experiences have helped me kind of build a resilience, focus more on myself and grow my own mentality and mindset to be able to deal with these different. And yeah, I've no doubt in the next few years I'm going to come across people who I'm just not going to like. When people aren't going to me, I'm not going to like them, and that's just how it is. Like,
No, absolutely. No, I 100% agree. I think when you go into whether it's a work setting or a sporting environment or any setting, even if it's a sort of a family deal, you don't have to walk into a room and like everybody. Because like you said, it's impossible. Someone's gonna do something or say something that you're not gonna fully agree with. It's never the case. But I think trying to do what you've been saying about having that sort of mutual respect towards someone to just, I'm here to do a job, you're here to do a job, let's do our job. And then at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, or say at full time yesterday, right, now I'm going home to do my stuff. Now you're going home to do your stuff. I'll see you back in work on Tuesday or Wednesday. I think it's a great mentality to have.
yeah, no, for free. It's like you have to park it. You have to put your line under it. And again, it all just comes back to on what they do. And giving them the space to flourish and do their job. And handing over them and micromanaging them and dictating what they can and can't do all the time. It's like, of course, you want to lean on people's or you have ideas, and people help make you better in a lot of environment. Yeah, there's no need to be challenging people and putting them out there or making comfortable in their job or just making things difficult for them. Nobody's here for a hard time. Do you know what I mean? We're all here to contribute and feel like bring value to what we're doing. And it can be more important than earning money for some people. So if you feel like somewhere, it's better than anything else, to be honest.
100%. And so just on the next question is just, so I'm just gonna ask you about advice for your younger self. But the
Okay.
first thing that I actually want to ask you based around that is, in the position that you are today, could you have imagined it? Is it something you thought you were always going to go get to? Or is this something you were like maybe 10 years ago? You were like, if I'm in this position, say obviously, so you're kit manager for Shamrock Rovers women's team, you have your own PT business and you have your job. Would that have been a wild dream for you 10, 15 years ago?
Yeah, for sure. Years ago, Jess was all about, getting to play and wanted to play as much as I to try and coach as much as I could. And my focus has definitely shifted. I wouldn't have thought I'd be in the position, especially doing kit, something like that came by. Somebody asked a question, and at the time, challenging saying yes more than saying no more. It's just saying yes and figuring things out. And that's what one of those moments were. But it's put me on a career path and a trajectory around sport, something I had never been exposed to previously. So like going into somewhere like a course like Carlow, it's very around playing and coaching and some analysis. Um, Nothing else, sports, working in a, sports admin role, doing operations, being a for a team, it's something that isn't explored probably as much as it could be. Of course, down in Carlow, but again, it's not the objective of the courses, it's getting players, it's getting coaches, getting analysts out there, which is a massive part of what the game is as well. So yeah, no, I wouldn't have said 10 years ago I'd be in the position that I'm in now. I definitely would have thought I'd be coaching. But again, at that age, you go age naivety. It's just,
Yeah.
you realize very quickly whether you have a knack for coaching or you and I do in a one-on-one setting, and I feel like I've a good ability to help people, and I come humility and just a human, not like just a coach or um I feel like that's where it comes from. But yeah, I wouldn't have said I'd be in the position I'm in today. I would have thought I'd be settled down in the line now. Um, but I'm definitely not. No, I'm in a rat race for sure, and it's Monday to Sunday, and it never stops.
And then to go back and your 13-year-old self is sitting in front of you on the computer screen. What are you going to tell her to do? Are you going to tell her to keep going? Are you going to tell her to go this way before that way?
No,
No?
I like my 13-year-old self. I like, and I'm so grateful to be where I am today. If I changed anything in my past, I wouldn't be where I am today. Like I mentioned, myself and my wife and building a family. And I wouldn't have met Orla if I go on the path that I did and leaning into local league football, getting into representative squads that's crossed, and we met through football. So I wouldn't change anything. Even picking my college course, I'd have went to UL and not defer. If I didn't defer that position and went to UL, I wouldn't have met Orla. These things happen. You're on your path, and you are where I firmly believe that you're where you're meant to be. Of course, you could shut it down tools and stop working and do nothing. But again, I don't know what impact that would have on future. Yeah, for my 13-year-old self, it would just be lean into it, lean into whatever's in front of you. Your time has to pass, nothing's forever. And just trust yourself, just back yourself and believe that.
Super. And I even love the sort of the phase you were saying before that led you to getting your role in Shamrock Rovers about this yes mentality, because I think nowadays people are so inclined to say no, no, no. And if in 5 years' time you're looking back and that yes is a turning point in your life, you're going to be like, well, thank God I said yes. But if you look back and you said no, and then you somehow got a picture of what you were supposed to be or what you could have been if you said yes, it's amazing, amazing to see. Honestly, I've loved every single bit. We have our last and final question, which isn't mine. I have to give the guy credit because it's his question, but it's a good mate of mine, Jack Sweeney Leahy. So his question is, what are you going to work on this week to improve your life, your career, your relationship, everything? Is there one thing? I mean, a week is such a small period of time, but is there one thing that maybe you're going to sort of consistently do over the next 7 days to keep you on a good sort of and positive trajectory?
Sure, I love this question. And when you sent over a few questions, I was like, that's a great question because it really focuses you to it gives you that direction of like, what am I working towards? Like, am I just existing, waking up with the morning alarm, getting ready, going to work, coming home? Um, for me, it's years where my focus has shifted, especially in the last year, it's been more on self-care and self-love on myself. So for myself, every week it's showing up for myself. And if that's being selfish and, canceling a PT so I can train myself for an hour, that's what I need to do. week ahead, it's showing up for myself and training, and going to things like therapy and doing the things that I do to work on myself, because it betters me, it betters my family and my life with Orla, which is what my focus is right now.
Excellent. Well, honestly, I've loved every minute of this, every minute, every second. Even it being great to catch up, and no, I love your mentality and your drive, and whether it's football full time, whether it's PT full time, whether it's your own business full time. I hope everything goes really, really well for you, and
That's great.
no, keep doing it. Honestly, keep doing it, and wishing you and Orla obviously a very, very happy life. That's the main thing. It sounds like you're going after a family life. So once you look after your family, I think most people have a happy life. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Well, thank
Thank
you.
you
I
very much.
appreciate it, Finian, and thanks for asking me on. I really appreciate it, and keep grafting yourself. I respect the work.
Thank you. Thank you. No, it means a lot.